Hello, lovely humans, and welcome back to my channel. In this week's episode, I'm so excited because I have a special guest with me. We've got Bron, Flower Guy Bron.
I'm so excited to be here with you
I know,
today.
thank you so much. Now, really quickly, I mean, the title Flower Guy kind of gives it away, but
a little bit, maybe, but not the full extent.
Not the full extent. So what is it that you do?
Well, I am the Flower Guy Bron. I own and operate the Flower Guy Bron in Richmond, Virginia, which is a full-service luxury floral and event design company.
That sounds like my dream job if I wasn't already doing this.
Well, it sounds like everyone's dream job until the flowers might not come in.
Yeah.
So, you know, you hit some snafus here and there,
Yeah.
but we've learned to make do with just about anything.
Yeah.
So it is a very fun profession to be in.
It's probably best that I don't have to deal with any shipping of any sort, because I would be less sane.
That part.
Yeah.
That part. That part.
So you are here at Wedding MBA, and your topic this week caught my eye. And that was the entire reason we wanted to reach out to you, because obviously you guys here on this channel, we are all about making sure that you guys are making wise, affordable decisions that work within your budget, but we still want it to be cute. Like, we still want style.
I think regardless of your budget, everyone still wants a great event.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And they deserve to have it.
And so your whole topic was like affordable luxury.
Yes, it was.
So I was like, how do we talk to him? How do we make this happen?
I'm glad you figured it out. I'm glad you got me here.
I'm glad we cracked that code. So when it comes to figuring out style, like I already have a video here on this channel, but all I did was talk about like go to your closet. When we were sitting down beforehand, you had so many ideas. How does a couple figure out their style?
Well, I would say typically I want you to think about the things that make you tick. I want you to think about the environments that you exist in. So whether it's your home, whether it's your office, your work environment, I want you to really focus on tailoring your event to serve you and your partner. And starting there will allow you to open up the capacity that your design doesn't have to be limited to inspiration on Pinterest, inspiration online, and inspiration in magazines.
Yeah.
Your inspiration should come from your daily life, your wardrobe, your textiles, your textures, your colors. The things that you love to see and exist around you are the things that I want to help you generalize in your wedding.
I like that because it's less about a season.
Yes.
It's less about a theme. And it's going to make it so that your friends and family will recognize the event almost immediately.
That's important.
Yeah.
It's the one day that you have to fully serve yourself outside of your birthday.
Yeah.
But I like to think that a wedding is even more important than that. So when you're looking at your wedding, I want, again, like you said, your guests to walk in and it to be a familiar experience. What's familiar about walking into a ballroom space where it's just dripping with white flowers everywhere, white floors, white walls, white drapery, white lights, and every flower on the table is white? Where's the personality? When they walk in your room, in your home, in your living room, and you have beautiful, neutral, and warm colors, who are you serving in that moment?
Yeah.
So I want you to go back to the heart of who you are as a couple, as a person, as an individual, and start planning from that place.
And I feel like that's removes the pressure
Tell me about
of that competition,
Yes.
or of that what if it's not up to snuff.
That comparison game, right? Yeah.
That gets so hard, and I've talked with, like, obviously I've talked to you guys here on this channel before about like getting off Pinterest at a certain point. Like you just got to, or like put the magazine down. You got to
put
walk
it
away.
down. You know, Pinterest is perfectly fine for you couples out there who need a foundation for inspiration. Like if you're thinking about your wedding and what it can look like, and you know, you can't generalize how your sofa and pillows can help you, you know, figure out how to create a tablescape. I get that. So Pinterest can be helpful, but it can also create a really, really difficult moment for a lot of people who continue to stay there and get sucked into that warp and then can't figure out either whether it's budget or whether it's style, how to make these things really happen. So Pinterest is good on one end, but after a certain point, you gotta dial back.
Oh, it's a phenomenal tool. I don't know why I said phenomenal that loudly. I'm very sorry, Adam.
Well, it is a phenomenal tool. I'm with you on that.
It's great, especially for those who are like, design, I don't know her. I don't know how to do that. Because you can see so many people holding up their couch pillow being like, how do I do this?
Yes.
You know, it's so establishing that foundation is good.
It's helpful.
And one thing I talk about in like our course online is like, if you need to phone a friend to take a look at your Pinterest board to kind of help pull some of that out, that's fine.
It's helpful.
But even, I love that like luxury is what you do, and you still have that same idea of like, you gotta stop looking at a certain point.
You have to stop at a certain point. I tell my couples, once we've honed in on your design plan, give it up. Like, we have made the choices that are serving you. We have vetted other designs. We have considered all the different design things. and we had reconciled that this is what speaks to you,
Yeah.
leave it alone.
That also saves you a little bit because you don't want that 2-week out phone call. Are you sure blush was the right call? And you're like, it's done. It's ordered.
Yeah, blush. If you chose blush has been the right color for 50 years. So it is not going anywhere. You don't have to question blush.
Blush is like millennial blush is never leaving us.
Never leaving.
It's never happening.
Never leaving. Ever.
So one other thing that we talked about beforehand was like picking your moment.
Oh.
Because it can be so tempting to just like, and this was, I DIY'd a ton of stuff for my, our wedding was $8,500.
Yeah.
I made all the centerpieces.
Absolutely.
I did the backdrops.
Yeah.
I mean, and then I started my business afterwards.
There
Because
you
I was
go.
like, wait, I'm
Inventory.
not inventory.
Right.
Because I did that, that classic thing in the beginning where I was like, I'll do rentals. And I'll do florals sometimes.
right.
And I'll do invitations. And then afterwards I was like, no, I will just do planning.
There you go.
But I did everything.
Yeah.
I did everything, and it was exhausting.
Yes.
And I know that I like DIY, so I'm sure for a lot of clients or for a lot of couples, that's not an ideal place for them to be. So they should pick their moments.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's a really great point that you bring up. You know, weddings have so many different elements happening. Your wedding starts with the ceremony, but even before the ceremony, you have moments that are happening in your getting ready suite. There's so many different opportunities to highlight the day. And so I really encourage couples to pick a moment, just like you said, pick a Instagrammable moment if you want to give your guests, you know, a wow factor opportunity. You know, pick a romantic moment if you want your videographer to capture the moment when the gift exchange is taking place. Pick a moment. Everything cannot always be the moment. And I think it's important that we reconcile with ourselves who we are, what our investments will get us, and really identify in this day of opportunity, how can we find the best moment to highlight who we are? And then just sinking into that moment, sinking your emotions into that moment, sinking your investment into that moment, sinking your time into that moment, and really facilitating a moment that fully serves you. And the rest of it won't matter as much. It really will help you tone down all the pressure, tone down all of the stress, and just have a day that is about you. So pick your moment.
And not to mention if they are DIY crazy, like I'm talking, I made 2 different backdrops.
Yeah.
We had handmade my headboard and then used that as the bar backdrop. We rented a U-Haul truck
Oh, I love it.
for all of the DIY. I was like, let's do it, let's go. But I couldn't do everything as effectively as I wanted to because it was it was like a shotgun effect. Yeah, it was all done and it passed the vibe check, like it worked, and some of it was really cute. But at the same time, I was exhausted afterwards.
Totally.
So if you can find a way to like really hone into that one moment or pick the special things to you, it's keeps you more sane.
Absolutely.
It's more affordable, and it means you probably won't need a U-Haul.
Absolutely. You know, time on a wedding day for couples, I think leading up to it is something that they don't give enough credit to.
Yeah.
I think that we think that in the midst of a wedding day, we're going to have so much time to, oh, this isn't right, that isn't right. No.
Nope.
Your wedding day is going to go by so quickly that the fewer things that you have on your personal checklist of things to do, so picking that moment is even more important. So you're not, you know, just diluting your value throughout the day. You can really have some concentrated moments where your intentionality really pays off.
I love that because it's so true. I mean, so many couples think that like, oh, I will notice if that's not done right.
Yeah, right.
Or I will, no, you won't.
You won't notice at all. I've had couples that were so specific about color, and I'm just like, honey, if they only knew those were not the colors that they were so insistent on. Those were the colors that came in.
Yes.
But those were not the colors that you thought they were going to be. So I just say, you know, hey, pick your battles, pick your moment, and have a good day.
Yes. And it's because if you hold on to all this stuff, you're going to miss out on all the
You're going to
moments.
miss out. You're going to miss out on everything. And I'll tell you from my own experience, at my wedding, I might have had one cocktail the whole night, which was a shame because food and beverage was one of my top priorities. And it was because I was so focused on the details, not to pick them apart, but to appreciate my intentionality, that I even missed out on the opportunity to drink the top shelf alcohol that I paid so much money for.
No!
Yeah, so I was so busy finding every moment, I was like, get a drink, fool, and sit down somewhere. Right?
Where's Bron? He's checking the centerpieces.
Yes, I was like, oh, it's so beautiful. Oh, look at it, it's so beautiful, but where's my cocktail?
Yeah, excuse me.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad you finally got one.
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, I did that same thing with my wedding where we just like, especially because, we're passionate about events. It's very easy to get wrapped up in that. All right. So I know you are the experts on all things luxury.
Oh, well, maybe a few things. I'll take that though.
You're like, I'll sign up for that too.
I'll take it, yes.
You are a huge advocate for making wise choices, obviously. Like
Absolutely.
And like affordability in all of this. We don't need to blow money on absolutely everything.
Absolutely.
So what are some budget tips that you would have to give us?
And I'll say this too, before I even give you tips. I am big on budget and making practical decisions at every price point. I encourage even some of my clients making the largest investments to be thoughtful and intentional with their investment, because I have done weddings where money was no object, and they're like, we want tall centerpieces on every single table, every surface has to have flowers on them. And I pushed back in many of those cases, and even at the point of losing investment, because money was no object, I just knew that it wasn't going to be a good presentation, or it wasn't going to give any more value than something else. So I always want folk to be very intentional about how they use their money, which leads me into a few tips. So one of the things, so since I'm a florist, I think that the first tip should of course be about flowers. So when I think about an easy way to make fresh flowers affordable is to incorporate a little bit of fresh with a little bit of faux.
Okay, we're gonna have to lean into that one a little bit.
Yeah, or even a little bit of fresh with a little bit of preserved.
Yeah.
A little bit of fresh with a little bit of dried. So there's ways to incorporate a fresh product and layer in objects that are even more textural, that might even have some, sensitivity in terms of emotion. Like I have a friend who got married 25 years ago yesterday, my next door neighbor. And they had a $5,000 wedding budget. And even back then, for where they were getting married in Charleston, that was a very small budget even back then. So they did dried flowers. And now when her daughter gets married, her daughter will have her dried bouquet that's still in existence.
Stop it.
To have elements of that bouquet in her daughter's bouquet. So there's ways to incorporate flowers that aren't necessarily fresh, and you still get a beautiful presentation. And the rule of thumb is, if you can't touch it, then it can be silk.
It's free game. Yeah.
It's a free game. So I think about things like, the silk wisteria. You see a lot of couples who want, those beautiful hanging installations on trees and things, and they get the inspiration from Pinterest, and I'm like, oh my God, it's a $30,000 install. How do I tell this couple that this is not going to happen within their budget at all?
Yeah.
Well, you can go on websites and you can order the silk wisteria, and you can figure out how to incorporate that look. You might not get the same full presentation, but you are able to get a concentration of design that mimics what you were inspired by.
Yes.
So another rule of thumb is, if you're going to mix silk in with fresh, start with your layers tighter in with the silk, and then build out with more fresh, so that you can create the depth and the dimension, the volume.
Yes.
But you don't want necessarily all of your silk blooms like right in your face.
Yes.
You want to start off with a base of silk and then build out with the fresher product.
Wait, that is
so that's
genius.
a trick. It's a trick.
Because I've always wondered how you could combine the two.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know how to do that effectively if the silk is so in your face.
Yes.
I've never heard that before.
Embed it deep.
That's awesome. So then, because obviously, I've worked with florals a little bit,
Yeah.
and I'm no floral guy or flower guy.
Well,
floral?
if there were too many of us going around, that'd be a problem.
But especially for branding.
Yeah,
Yes.
that part. Yeah, I met a lady just yesterday, and she's the flower girl, and I'm like, that's a good thing.
That's fine.
It's a good thing. You're fine.
You're fine. I'll allow it.
Yes.
I'll allow it.
Yes.
But you want to cover up, if you're working with foam,
Yeah.
you want that to be covered. And so you need
Absolutely.
some of those base elements to kind of be down in there.
Absolutely.
And I never thought that you could use silk for that.
Absolutely.
But that's awesome.
That's awesome. Another good tip that you can use if you're in a struggle with your investment and you want to kind of still have flowers, you don't have to have a vase. I think about how much my couples, in some cases, especially some of my higher end couples, pay for vases. Some of these designer vases cost $50, $60, $100 a vase.
Yeah.
And that's before anything goes in it and before any hands touch it. So remove the vase, free the vase. You can design right in a tray, you can design in anything, and you don't have to worry about the cost of a vase. So think about even they have these little frogs. They're like little spiky frogs. You can spray paint those different colors, and they can go directly on the table, no water source, and have the most fine art, delicate, whimsical look on the table.
Yes.
And anyone can do it. It's just a matter of sticking the flower in the frog. And the
Yes.
frogs can be all types of cool colors.
I love a good frog. Like actually, an antique store down the street from me collects like vintage
Antique
frogs.
yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just gonna start my
Don't
own little
mind
collection.
me.
They're
Yeah,
cute.
they're so cute.
But you're right. There is something about that minimalistic approach, whether you're doing it in foam on a tray directly on the table, that almost feels more organic.
Yeah.
Has a really cool effect.
Yes.
And so we don't need a compote. We don't need a vase. We don't even need bud vases, although that is another great option if we're trying to be affordable. Really cut down on the size of it, and then you can spread those around.
Totally.
But don't stay married, no pun intended, to like the actual vase.
That part. And a lot of times you'll notice not all couples are interested in flowers, or maybe they know they need flowers, but floral decor isn't top on their list.
Right.
So then why force the issue? Let them have fresh bouquets, and then why not focus on hard goods on the tables? We can do things like moss balls. I had a beautiful event that we did for a couple where flowers were not a priority at all. We layered the design with candle styles. We layered the design with sheet moss and moss spheres and all types of beautiful elements. I know, not a flower the first. And everything were things that I had in my inventory, so their investment was lower.
Yeah.
So even if you don't want to DIY it, there are conversations you can have with your designer that like, hey, this is not a priority for me. How can we get an impactful design, a design that still has layers, a design that still has depth and dimension without the investment of flowers? It's possible. So when we got married, I'll tell you a fun story. We had a table that I was dedicated to making sure we had, and we had a destination wedding. So we literally shipped.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So we got married in Miami, Florida. So it wasn't that much of a destination. Well, I mean, we're in Virginia, so it is a destination. People are coming from all across the country. So we wanted to have a table that was unique, that only people that had visited our house would recognize the things on the table. And every one of our guests had been invited to our house. So everyone had been in our home, either stayed at our home, broken bread in our home, all 50 of our guests. So we had this table, like meet the groom's table. And on the table, we had tchotchkes from, the guest bedroom, tchotchkes from the dining room, living room. Just things that people like comment on, things that have been conversation pieces at home.
Yeah.
We wanted to bring that element to our wedding. Again, making our wedding about us. So I just kind of want to remind the audience today to start with you. Start with the areas that you frequent. Start with the things that matter to you. In our case, it was, I'll never forget, there's this set of skeleton keys that are totally from Home Goods that tend to make it to every house that we have. Yeah. And this set of keys, these decorative skeleton keys were sitting on the table. And my best friend walked up and he's like, these are from your house. And I'm like, yeah, they're on the cocktail table, right? Yeah. So just like go back to you. Start planning with you in mind. Yeah. Think about the things that motivate you, that make you tick, that you love to be around. Yeah. And let those things come into your day and really drive how you design.
Which is so funny because now I'm going to follow your story with my story.
Yes, please.
Our kitchen table was our sweetheart table.
Yes. Oh, wow.
Yeah, we bought a rug runner to use as our aisle that is now in the hallway and has been in the hallway of every home we've had ever since.
There you go.
Like, I had suitcases stacked up somewhere.
Yes.
They're in our house still.
That's
just stuff like that where now it has so much more meaning. And I got a new dining room table and now I don't know what to do. I'm like, well, I can't get rid of our sweetheart table.
Right.
There's
like,
no
we
story
can't
have
connected
two.
to this dining room table the way there is to the kitchen table, right?
But the sweetheart table is only 5 feet long and our new one's an 8-footer. I'm like, why can't we just keep both? He's like, that doesn't make sense.
Well, maybe you'll use it at your vow renewal.
There you go. We'll just store it until then. Right. It's fine because everyone has room for an extra 5-foot table, right?
That part.
Well, thank you so much for being here. This has just been
a pleasure.
Like, my mind is so blown because I know this is going to be such an asset to so many people that are watching this right now.
I hope so.
Because that comparison game, that like kind of getting stuck in that cycle, or how do I theme it? How do I design it? We do Q&As a lot. And that's what we hear a lot. And I think that you've given some really solid advice that's going to help people who have no idea what they're doing feel a little bit better.
Hopefully so.
Hopefully so.
Yes.
All right. So where can people find you?
People can find me on every major social media outlet. If you want to follow along on Instagram, you can find us at the handle at the Flower Guy Bron. Also on Facebook, very active there at the Flower Guy Bron, and every other social media outlet. So please follow along and see what we have going on.
Perfect. And of course, you guys, we're going to link to everything of theirs down below. Thank you again so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
So that's all we have for this week's video, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you liked the video, jump on down there, hit that like button, and subscribe to this channel for more tips and tricks for the modern day bride. And until next week, bye guys.